Hi, if you like the video, please remember to subscribe. Hi, I'm Rob from robnonphoto.com, and in today's video we're going to be doing a review of the Lenovo A850 Android smartphone. Luckily enough, I was invited by the marketing people at Lenovo, at dhgate.com to review the Lenovo A850. And they asked me, what sort of thing would you like to review? And I said, well, I'm really into obviously photography and really into sort of Android smartphones. So they said, well, why not have a look at the A850, a large 5.5-inch Android phone. So I kind of jumped at the opportunity. So they shipped it over from China, and to be honest, I've been pretty impressed with the spec of the phone, how it operates, and the price as well is pretty amazing. In fact, it's been so good that this phone will be going to my wife after I've done this review, because she's kind of fallen in love with the size of it and the performance, what it can do, and it will be replacing her old Galaxy Nexus phone, which was mine for a couple of years too. So yeah, that's kind of a really good start to the review. I've been using the A850 for a couple of weeks now, kind of as a replacement for my HTC One Max. If you're familiar with my YouTube stream, you'll know that this is, I love the HTC One Max. It's a big 5.9-inch Android smartphone. But let's not beat about the bush. It is incredibly expensive, where something like the Lenovo A850, although it doesn't really compare in terms of overall specification, if you just look at the sheets, when it actually comes down to real world use, you'll actually be pretty amazed about what you can do with this sort of phone. And in fact, it does really punch significantly above its weight. In fact, if we look at the specs for the A850, it has a 5.5-inch screen. The resolution is 960 by 540, so it's not 1080p, but it's good enough for surfing the web, it's good enough for reading PDF documents, it's good enough for watching videos on YouTube or Netflix. It has a 5-megapixel camera, main camera on the back with a flash, and a 0.3-megapixel camera on the front. And the camera's okay. What I've found is that if you're outside in bright sunlight, it takes really nice photographs. If you're inside, however, things start to get a little bit grainy. As you'd expect with a phone of this size, it packs a pretty big battery. We've got a 2,250 milliamp hour battery, which is going to last you all day surfing the web, texting people, WhatsApping, that sort of thing. Now, what's really interesting about this type of phone is that it has, it has a dual SIM card slot, which is quite unusual for phones in Europe and in America. In fact, for most of the carriers, you won't be able to buy a dual SIM card. But the big, obviously, advantage of that is that, say you're traveling abroad, you don't have to take two phones. Or you don't have to keep sort of swapping your SIM out. You could go abroad if you're on holiday, buy a local pay-as-you-go SIM, pop it in, select that one, and then pay local phone charges and local data rates without having to keep on cracking open the phone. So I think that's definitely something worth thinking about. It runs Android 4.22. It comes unlocked, so you can use it with any carrier. The brains behind the brawn are a quad-core 1.3 gigahertz processor that's really powerful and very fast, so it should be able to handle most games. The Achilles heel of the A850, though, is its memory. It's got 4 gigabytes of ROM with 1 gigabyte of RAM, which is pretty low. You can store videos and photographs on the SD card, but out of the box you can't install apps on the SD card. You can either install them on the internal memory, or you can just choose them to install them on the SD card, but you can't like with the HTC One Max, have them running from the SD card and the internal memory. So that kind of limits you in terms of the overall number of apps you can install on the phone. But if you're an average person, you find you probably won't, it won't be a problem. And in fact, if you're a more advanced sort of power user, there is, easy solutions out there where you can flash a different ROM into the phone, which then allows you to do just that. It comes with Wi-Fi, GPS, Bluetooth, FM radio, and the speakers are really nice and loud for making calls, watching videos, and playing music. One of the things that really surprised me, actually, not really just about the Lenovo A850, but I'd never really heard of dhgate.com, and if you haven't checked it out already, it's an amazing way to buy great value for money goods, straight out of China, just like you would on Amazon or eBay. You can buy individual units, or if you're into reselling, lots of the people on dhgate.com will sell you, multiples of things, so you can, buy things at wholesale prices, and you'd be amazed at what they do, and you'd be amazed at how cheap you can get things. On dhgate.com, you're probably looking at about US $170 for an A850, or about £105. Now, I think that's incredibly cheap for a phone, of this spec, of this size, of this quality. Maybe it's because I'm a little bit biased because, I'm used to playing with my HTC One Max, so I love big screen smartphones, and I feel really right at home with the A850. And in fact, Suzanne, when she's been using it, she's commented on the fact that the lovely bright big screen just makes everything easier, surfing the web, reading your text messages, reading your emails. It's just really, really good. And when I've been playing with it at work as well, lots of my colleagues have been amazed at the size of it, saying, what's that? And then when I tell them how cheap it is, they're like, whoa, that's really good. Now, remember, if you are buying goods from outside of the EU, if you're in the UK, the phone may be subject to import duty. So what you want to be doing is you want to be budgeting for it perhaps having VAT added on as it comes through customs. But don't worry about it; it's dead easy to deal with. What happens is when you arrange for the delivery, you give them your mobile phone number, and then the importer, the courier, if there is a charge to pay, will then text you, and then you can just go onto the website and you can pay that charge, and then the phone will be delivered. So it's nice and easy to deal with. So I guess you're kind of asking, well, who's this phone for? Well, I think out of the box, it isn't for a power user. The memory limitations mean that if you're into installing dozens and dozens of apps, you'll want to flash a new ROM into it. And then if you do that, then fantastic, you can install apps to the SD card. But I think for everyone else, the Lenovo A850, I think it's a great choice if you want a really large screen Android smartphone, for not very much at all. Let's be honest about that. But I tell you what, let's turn the camera around and let's have a close look at the phone in action. So it will give you a really good idea of what it's capable of and what to expect if you were to get one yourself. Okay, so here we have the Lenovo A850 from dhgate.com in all its Android glory. First things first, with the home screen, what you'll see at the top, now this is actually a extra widget that I paid to download. I'm a bit of a fan of the old HTC weather, and I love having all the weather stuff going on. So that's fancy widgets. If you really like it, it has all the animations where the sun comes across and you get the windscreen wipers and things like that when it's raining. But you do have to pay for that, otherwise you could use any of the stock clocks and the like. And as you can see straight away, it's got the normal Android stuff. You can swipe left, you can swipe right. The home screen is incredibly customizable. If you want to change things, what you can do is you can just press your settings button down here, and then you can add apps, shortcuts, folders. You can change the themes. You can see all these things popping up here. We could change the wallpaper. We can add more screens if we wanted to, with lots more apps on. I'm a bit of a folder guy, so what you'll kind of see on my home screen is all the apps that I use really regularly, and where I can't fit the apps on, I'll then have a folder within, I'll then have the other apps there, because I like to be able to access everything, well, virtually everything, from the same screen. And you probably see that the way that I lay it out, because I tend to hold the phone with my right hand. I'll lay it out so the most common apps I can just click on by accessing them with my thumb like that, and then the others, I've got to click on a folder. What we can see down the bottom is then we've got the icon tray where the really common apps are held. So we've got messages, we've got phone. If we press that one, we can look at all the different apps that are installed, and then we've got people, and then we've got, of course, with me, it's got to be the camera. Settings, if we pull down the screen, one thing I really like about this version of Android that Lenovo have done is that, normally you'd have to have a power bar where you'd have access to all the different Wi-Fi and stuff. Instead, they put it all at the top here. So you've got your brightness controls, auto rotation, Wi-Fi, GPS, data, airplane mode. If you want to go into silent mode and stuff like that, it's all there. Easy to get out. You don't have to muddle up your home screen with an extra widget. And we can also go straight into settings, and we can go through and we can customize our Android experience even more. Really easy, probably quite familiar to most users of Android. If you're new to Android, don't worry, it's dead easy to use. Down the bottom, we've got a home button, which is just there. We've got a back button, which is just there. And we've got our settings button just there. So let's have a look then. So we've got WhatsApp there. We've got Google Maps. I'm currently running this over Wi-Fi because I'm at home. But if we bring up, let's have a look. Let's bring up satellite data. The processor, handles rendering all this nice and easy. Never any problems with the speed at all with this phone, to be honest, with anything. Just it's really fast, really good, amazing value for money. Gmail, as you'd expect from Google, nice and fast. Works fine, just as well as it does on my HTC One Max. I'm a bit of a podcast freak as well, so I use Stitcher Radio. Works really beautifully. And one of the big advantages of the A850 is the fact that the speakers are so incredibly loud. They're almost as loud as the speakers on my HTC One Max. Into my shopping apps, let's have a quick look at Gumtree. If you're in the UK, Gumtree, it's a bit like eBay. I guess no, it's probably a bit more like Craigslist actually for people in the outside Britain and the USA and places like that. You can look things up. I tend to look through Gumtree for camera bargains. As you can see, everything is lovely and smooth, really nice and fast. No complaints at all. Everything renders really quickly. What else have we got on here? The eBay app itself. Again, just all works really nice. Yeah, I mean, these are all the apps that I use sort of every day. And as you can see, the processor and the memory in this phone doesn't have any trouble dealing with any of these particular apps at all. Very nice. Here we've got my news apps that I refer to. So let's have a look at BBC News first. Again, I mean, the scrolling is lovely and smooth, isn't it? You can see that it's nice and fast. And when you want to go into things, I mean, I must admit we are over Wi-Fi, and we're very lucky here in the fact that we do have Virgin Media's 150 kilobits broadband, so that should work very fast, shouldn't it? Let's go into Feedly. If you're kind of missing Google Reader, I highly recommend Feedly as an RSS reader. And again, you can see here the fact that everything works nice and fast, all renders beautifully. And then let's go back to the home screen. What else have we got next? Photography. So we've got the camera. We'll have a quick look at the camera app. They are what they are, aren't they? Camera apps, very easy to use. If we press the button on the left at the bottom, we can take a video. Press the button at the right, then we've got the. We can just take a still picture. We can adjust our settings on here as well, should we wish to. And then we've got flash up top. We can flip round to the front camera. And then we've got lots of settings, auto white balance, or we can do exposure compensation, change the ISO, that sort of thing. But as I said, with the camera, works really good out in nice sunny conditions. Things get a bit grainy inside, but it's kind of what you'd expect at a phone of this price. you can go into the gallery and you could look at your photos. Really showing off the screen here, nice and bright, nice and colourful, no complaints at all. All the photos render nice and quickly. And then what else have we got here? We've got the Flickr app, and again, with all these kind of modern web apps, it's really all about speed, isn't it, and smoothness. And one thing you cannot knock the A850 for is the smoothness of how it scrolls around. There's no stuttering here. Everything is handled very well by that powerful processor. Flashlight, in fact, I'm not going to show you that. That's self-explanatory. Got Facebook app. Again, once it's updated, nice and fast. No problems with any of this sort of stuff. And then what have we got? Now, I'm not going to play any YouTube videos because last time I did this, my video got pulled down because they'd spotted the fact that even though I was only demoing, I think I had about 10 seconds of a BBC video on it, spotted it and pulled my video down. But as you can see, it works very well. I tell you what, we might be able to demo better. I don't know, what do you reckon with Netflix? Let's flick into Netflix. Let's fire this up. I don't know, what should we have a look at? Let's play a really small bit of something. Maybe if I turn the music down, we'll be okay. Let's have a look. How about the end of Battlestar Galactica? Let's turn that music down when it comes in. Oh. Right, I've turned the music down. Hopefully it won't be able to see it. In fact, let's go into a bit of Battlestar Galactica. I'm not going to show you much though, because it'll probably spot the fact that it's not my video. And that screen, there's a bit of a dark bit actually. Let's go into a brighter bit. Yeah, the screen looks really good. I've got no problem watching movies on this phone. It's lovely 5.5-inch screen. Sound is great too. Then we've got some Google apps. So what else? We've got the Play Store, got Docs, Play Music, all the normal stuff works very well. Now, one thing I probably would recommend is the stock browser. Although it's okay that comes with it, I would recommend you download Google Chrome. I'm just more at home with it. Plus that will then import all your Google bookmarks if you've got a Google account, and it renders nice and fast. You can have multiple tabs open. This is my website, and as you can see, everything whizzes along. You can zoom in. It all works very, very nicely indeed. And then kind of finally, if we flick onto my sort of secondary screen, we've got access to things like calculator that I have added, conversion calculator. This little cleaner thing's really cool. It's a little app that comes with the phone that will free up RAM. So I guess it's a bit like a task manager. So if the phone does seem to get a bit sluggish, which I haven't really come across, that little app will clean things up. However, if there are things you don't have on your home screens, you can just press these buttons down here, and then we're straight into every single app that's pre-installed or installed on the phone. And as standard, we get a Route Explorer in there, and we get Super SU should we want to play around with that side of the phone as well. So there we go. As you can see, the Lenovo A850, very impressive when you're playing around with it. Nice and smooth, works very well, great screen, nice and loud speakers. What more could you want? Let's go back and kind of summarize everything about the phone. Right, so you can see that, with all the apps I've installed on the phone, it really does run quite beautifully, I think. And it does almost everything that I can do with my HTC One Max, but at an immensely cheaper price point. And for me, that really is quite impressive. The days of the cheap Android phone that just didn't cut it, are long gone. When you can pick one of these up for just over £100, I mean, last year, maybe even the year before, this phone would have been absolutely unbelievable. As of now, obviously, with phone technology moves on really, really quickly. But for most users, this is going to be fine, because when you think about the price of a half decent contract phone in the UK, you're probably looking at least £30 a month for 18 months, probably a couple of years. You're going to be tied into that phone. When instead, you could grab something like the A850 for just over £100 from dhgate.com. And then you could go along to a contract provider like Virgin Mobile, for example. That's who I use. And with those guys, for £15 a month on a rolling monthly contract, so you can cancel within a month. You get unlimited text, you get unlimited data, and you get unlimited calls. And I don't think you can really go wrong with something like that, because it totally changes the way that you use your phone. You're not constantly worrying about, am I using too much data? Am I using too much text? Am I going to run out of data near the end of the month and have to pay them some more money? And of course, when you've paid for the phone up front as well, that also takes away the worry of, if you do lose the phone, or you do break the phone, say you drop it down the toilet or something like that, it's only another £100 to get a newer phone, isn't it? So that that's fine. I mean, I really like the Lenovo A850 smartphone. I like the size of the screen, I like the speed, and I like the price. And as I say, the only problem that I've got is that my wife Suzanne has seen the phone, has played with it, and is demanding it as a replacement for her Galaxy Nexus. So I guess if I want another one, I'll have to head on over to dhk.com and order another. Right, well, that's enough from me. My name's robnunphoto.com. Remember, you can email me, scalespeed@gmail.com, or you can head on over to www.robnunphoto.com if you want to ask any questions. If you like the video, please subscribe or put some comments on YouTube. And most of all, thanks for watching.